Know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bhārata, Arjuna. The knowledge of the field and its knower do I regard as true knowledge. After his head felt heavy after talking about spirituality so much, God says in this verse that ja pi, drink tea, it is there and I'm not making it up. Kshetrajnam ja pi mam vidhi, the mind becomes a little fresh. We have laughed a little about this, in that it says ja, tea. At the time of studying the Gita, we have played many of these innocent games. We say that in the Gita Ji, God often tells Arjuna to ja pi, drink tea, ja pi, drink tea. Over here, Sri Krishna has said, Kshetrajnam ja pi mam vidhi. And whenever the conversation gets deep, then God says ja pi, drink tea. We will now go into the spirituality. Having a little fun is necessary. Sri Krishna says ja pi, which can be turned into drink tea. Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Bhārata. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna to know Sri Krishna as the knower of the field in all fields. This means that Sri Krishna is the knower of the body in all bodies. Sri Krishna says that he regards the knowledge of the field and its knower as true knowledge. Such is his opinion. This is a greatness of Sri Krishna, that whatever Sri Krishna preaches in the Gita, he does with totality. He does it with total involvement. When God is showing the path of karma, action, then God praises the path of karma so much that it seems as if there is no path apart from the path of karma. When this same Sri Krishna is talking about the path of bhakti, devotion, then it seems like you should not do anything apart from bhakti, devotion. It seems like only bhakti is great. And now, when Sri Krishna is beginning to talk about gnan, wisdom, then God says that for him only this is gnan, and nothing else. For him, he says that only kshetra gnanam matam, knowledge of the field and its knower, is gnan, wisdom. The reason for this is that God is trying to show that all paths are great. We just have to search for our path. God is not saying that the path of karma is good, the path of bhakti is good, or that the path of gnan is good. It is not like that, because all the paths are great. The path of gnan, wisdom, is great, the path of karma, action, is great, and the path of bhakti, devotion, is also great. Not only that, but I said at the beginning that in the end all of these become one, and they help reach the one goal. But where do we begin from? Each and every human has to find that out themselves. Perhaps that is why a guru is necessary. The guru shows what path one should in reality begin from. Am I the person on the path of karma? Am I a person that's on the path of gnan? Am I the person that's on the path of bhakti? A guru explains this to help one begin. Then ultimately, the pupil finds the one thing that will help him reach the one goal. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna to know Sri Krishna as the kshetrajna, the knower of the field, in all fields. What is the kshetrajna, the knower of the field? Who is the knower of the field? We will ask some questions and go deeper. First of all, the body itself can be kshetrajna, the knower of the field. But it cannot be so. The body can never itself become the kshetrajna. The reason for this is that the eyes can see everything, but the eyes cannot see themselves. I can see the whole world with these eyes. But what do my own eyes look like if I wish to see them? I cannot see that with my own eyes. If I take the help of the mirror, then it is a different matter, but I will not be able to see them otherwise. In the same way, this body and this kshetra, field, can never itself become the kshetrajna, the knower of the field. A saint used to say it very nicely that if one wishes to pick up a basket, then their feet should be outside the basket. Think about it. If one wishes to become a basket and puts their feet inside the basket, then how will they be able to pick up the basket? They will not be able to pick this up. One who wishes to pick up the basket should put their feet outside the basket. In the same way, if one wishes to become a kshetrajna, the knower of the field, then they have to come out of the kshetra, the field. One should understand that they are outside of the kshetra, field. Only then can one become a kshetragna, the knower of the field. Therefore, the kshetra, field, and the body can never become a kshetragna, the knower of the field. The second question is whether the senses are kshetragna, the knower of the field. No. This is because the senses have limits. We see that the eyes are seeing. We say that the eyes are seeing. This is because the senses are all the instruments of knowing. They have a lot of limits. Scientists have proved that if one has only one object, for example, if I have only one board behind me when I speak, then all the people sitting in the audience will see it in a different way. All people will see the colours and the shade of the board differently. It depends on our retina, our senses of knowledge, our nervous system, and so on. It appears different to each and every person. The colour is one, but people see different shades of it. But this is the limit of the eyes. Not only that, but often my own eyes do not see what is there, and seeing what is not there. This is the experience of each and every person. People say that, "Oh, you were there, I did not see you." What has happened here? This means that it is not worth trusting the eyes. If somebody was there and you did not see them, then it is not worth trusting the eyes. Then the senses cannot become kshetragna, the knower of the field, because each and every sense has its own limits. Third, can the life breath become kshetragna, the knower of the field? No. It is true that the senses cannot work without the life breath. Just like if you take a battery out of a light bulb, then the light bulb will not be able to properly give light. In the same way, if you take the life breath out of this light bulb of the body and the senses, then the battery will be down and light will not come out of this light bulb of the body and the senses. But this life breath cannot become kshetragna, and it cannot know the supreme truth. This is because the senses have their own limits. How can the life breath that itself has to go attain the supreme truth? Not only that, but the life breath itself is a slave. At the time of going, and nobody asks the life breath if it wishes to come. The poor life breath has to go. The life breath cannot become kshetragna. Neither the body, the senses, nor the life breath can become the kshetragna, the knower of the field. Can the mind become kshetragna, the knower of the field? No. This is because I am separate from my mind. People say that my mind is agitated today, or my mind is very fresh today. But if one says that my mind is fresh or that my mind is agitated, then that means that one is not the mind. And if one is not the mind, then one cannot know. Can the intellect become kshetragna? No. There is only one truth that is above all of these and above the body, the senses, the life breath, the mind, the intellect, and everything. The truth is that beyond all of these is kshetragna. And the Supreme Soul tells Arjuna to know that the Supreme Soul is the kshetragna in all fields. The kshetragna means one who lights up the kshetra, the field. The kshetragna means the seer and the knower. One who is the knower of the kshetra is the kshetragna, who is the Supreme Soul. One who knows is the owner. I often give the example that there was a very big plan for a discourse, and at the time of the birth of Sri Krishna during the ceremony, there were a lot of crowds and thousands of people. A woman's purse had dropped, and it came into the hands of a volunteer. It was announced that a woman's purse has been found. Whoever it is should come and collect it in the office. Assuringly, 5 women reached the office saying that this purse is mine. The volunteer showed in good faith that it is this purse, and 5 people said, it is our purse. One purse could not belong to 5 people. The person who was a volunteer was very intelligent. It was his wish that we should give it to the person whose purse it really is. He sat down, all 5 of the women, and asked them, is it yours? And all of them said yes. He gave a letter in the hands of all 5 of them, gave them a pen, and said that if this is your purse, then you should know what is in it. Write what is in it. When this happened, the other 4 women began to scratch their heads, and the woman whose purse it really was began to scratch her head. She wrote that, in this purse there is much money. I had withdrawn 1,000 rupees from the bank this morning, and therefore there are 1,000 rupee notes in there. It has the card of my husband's office. It has a ticket of the bus in which I came to reach here. It has my railway pass, and I paid most of my children's school fees in the morning, and the receipt of the school fees is in there. All of these are in there. She wrote exactly what was in the purse. When the purse was opened, then everything tallied with what was on the list. The volunteer himself gave the purse to her and said, "You knew what was in the purse, and that is why this purse is yours." In the same way, this piece of jewellery that is the body is lost in the world. It has reached the lost and found department, and everybody is putting their hands forward and saying that this is mine. Our mother will say that I gave birth to him and I tolerated a 9-month period of labour. The father will say I raised him by working so hard to maintain him. I did so much to educate him and to get him married. The brother will say that he is mine. The sister will say that he is mine. If it is a wife, then she will say that this is my body. If it is a husband, then he will say that she is mine. Political and religious leaders will say that catch them young and bring them with us. Give them flies in their hands, or make them wear this religious necklace so that they will stay with us and will not go anywhere else at all. All of those people will say that he is mine, he is mine, he is mine. In reality, whose am I? We should have this question that, in reality, whose am I? Everybody is saying that this is Kshetra, field, and this body is theirs. At that time, our rishis ask us, and Sri Krishna asks us, do you know what is inside you? One who knows what is inside them will be the Kshetragna, the knower of the field. God says that he knows what is inside, and that is why God is Kshetragna, the knower of the field. God will describe later what is inside. Sri Krishna uses the word vidhi, which is a word that we must understand properly. In the Shanti Parva of the Mahatmya, it is said that Atma Kshetragna iti yukta sayukta prakrute gunaihi tere vattu vinay muktaha paramityu dharata. The soul is the knower of the field, and when it becomes connected with the modes of nature, enters into the body and lives in the body. At that time, it can be called the knower of the field and the individual soul. And when that same soul becomes free from the bondages of the body, nature and the modes of nature, then he is called the Supreme Soul. This is something that is worth understanding. One who resides in the body but knows that he is not the body, then when he experiences himself to be free from the bondages of the body and free from the modes of nature, then he can be called the Supreme Soul. The soul is the same whether it resides in the body or does not reside in the body. When it believes that I am nature and I am the body and accepts all the bondages of the body, then it is the individual soul, and when it becomes free from all these bondages, then it becomes the Supreme Soul. God uses the word vidhi, meaning to know. This is because God cannot be seen. On the majority of occasions, it is such that if one is the owner, then he can be seen. If someone is the owner of the house and puts his own nameplate outside this house, then it becomes clear that this property belongs to me. The owner is manifest from one place or the other. If one owns shares in a company, then they have put their name of owner in the company. Even if he sells the company to someone, his name is written at the end of the company name. In one place or the other, it is a rule of the material world that the owner cannot stay anywhere without showing himself. An owner likes to show himself a lot. An owner never remains hidden. Our Kachalal had a friend come to his house. He was a close friend. He had come to Mumbai for a day or so. He came from Surat, and it was his son's marriage, and so he wanted to give wedding invitations to his relatives in Mumbai. It so happened that one day he had to give out invitations, so he he had come in the morning train and had to go back in the evening train. This was decided, but on the train coming there, he got a stain on his shirt. He had come out with very nice invitations because he was giving out invitations of his son's wedding. A lot of stains came on his clothes, and he became worried, thinking that, what should I do? Gujralal had come because Gujralal was going to go with him everywhere, taking his car. He told Gujralal that, I had worn this new shirt and had left, but there are a lot of stains on this coat now. Gujralal said, do not worry, we have a brand new embroidered coat completely made out of silk that is lying at home. I have got a brand new coat tailored and I am going to give it to you. Do not worry. If there was a pair of trousers and a shirt, then it may not have been his size, but it was a coat, so it could fit many sizes. Gujralal gave it to him, and this person, who was a friend, liked it very much and left wearing it. The friend said that, Gujralal, if it is my son, then it is your son. You have to do all the talking and you have to invite people because when people go from Mumbai, then you will have to bring all of them. And I do not come and go so much in the community, so you will know the people of Mumbai better than me. You will therefore have to introduce me to people in Mumbai that you know. Gujralal said, yes, do not worry, I know everyone here and I will introduce you to everybody. And they went to the first relative and Gujralal introduced them that he is a person in our community. His name is Ramanlal, and he is the son of Vithaldas. And he is very advanced. His son is getting married, he has come to give us the invitations, and he is wearing my coat. The friend's face now had a frown on it. Gujralal had praised a lot and had done well there, but an owner never asks to remain hidden. He gave the invitation and they went out. Gujralal asked him, why is your mood gone off? The friend said that, if my mood does not go off, then what will happen, Gujralal? You gave me this coat, but how bad does it look in front of the other person? Gujralal said that, yes, what you are saying is true. The other person said that, now look, do not say now that you have given me this coat. Gujralal said, fine. They went inside the second house and Gujralal introduced them there. He said that they have come from Surat. They are well known in the community. They have a very big jeweller's shop in Surat. He is Ramanlal, the son of Vithaldas, and his son is getting married. He gives a lot of religious donations. He has come to give invitations of his son's wedding and I cannot say anything. He forgot everything and said that I cannot say the coat. It is the nature of the human beings that if someone else has said something, then they ask that, no, Gujralal, tell us, what is it about this coat? Gujralal said that, he is sitting here, so how can I say it? He does not like it, but because you are asking, I will tell you that the coat is mine. The other person took this badly once again. When they went downstairs, then he said that, Gujralal, you take your coat. The coat with the stain will do for me, but it is not right that you are talking about your coat. Gujralal said that, I would keep myself under a lot more control. So they went to the third house, and Gujralal introduced them, saying that he is in our community and he has come from Surat. He has a very big jeweller's shop. His name is Ramanlal, the son of Vithaldas. He gives a lot of religious donations to the temple. He himself has come here and his son is getting married. He has come here to give wedding invitations and do wedding invitations, and so these wedding invitations are very nice. Because there was a stain on his coat, then what I mean to say is that an owner never remains hidden. In some way or the other, the owner asks to be shown. This is just something to do with Gujralal, but with each and every. This is something not just something to do with Gujralal, but each and every one of us. And this coat does not just mean the coat of silk, but this coat is the body. The body is a guy, as I wrote earlier, when giving the meaning of gosh, sheaths, where there are many different types of gosh, sheaths. Gosh means bag. Whether we call it coat, bag, layer or habit, each and every person thinks that this is me, this coat is mine. They keep saying that this coat is mine. Whose coat is it in reality? Therefore here the owner cannot go without showing himself. The Supreme Soul uses the word vidhi, which comes from the stem vid. Vid is to know. Therefore vidhi means you know this in this way, and you understand this in this way. It literally means to know, but it has a shade to this meaning. You will not be able to see the thing, and it is not apparent, but you still have to believe it. You still have to believe it, and you should try to understand it. That is why the word vidhi is used. Your intellect and your logic may tell you something different from this, but you should understand this and you should believe this. Whenever I have had to explain the word vidhi, then I cannot go without remembering a verse from the Ramayana. When Ram, Sita and Lakshman are going into the forest and saying goodbye to everyone, Lakshman touched his mother Sumitra's feet. In the Valmiki Ramayana, Sumitra says a very beautiful verse as she is giving Lakshman her blessings. Raman dasharatam vidhi mam vidhi chanakat macha ayodhyam ataha vidhi gachata yata sukham. In one verse, she has said the word vidhi 3 times. This is her message as she is giving her blessings. Lakshman, you are going into the forest, then know Ram as Dasharatha. Your mind may tell you that he is your older brother and not your father, and you will have these thoughts, but leave these thoughts. Do not think that Ram is Dasharath, but know this. Know that Sita is your mother like me. In reality, she is his sister-in-law, but an older sister-in-law should be regarded as a mother. Know that Ayodhya is the forest in which you reside. Your senses may tell you that Ayodhya has a beautiful palace and comfortable living facilities, and that in the forest you have to live among wild animals. Be always on the move and continuously look for fruits, but know that it is Ayodhya. And if you are able to know all of this, then you will be happy wherever you go. This is the subtle meaning that is there in the word vidhi, that your intellect will not accept it. When somebody says the word vidhi in Sanskrit, then this means that they know that the intellect of the person in front of them will not accept it. The intellect will put forward 10 arguments. Therefore, when Sri Krishna says that know me as the knower of the field in all fields, it means that he knows that he cannot be seen, but the form of the power that lights up all bodies is him. This is the reason why this body is false and is material, and yet it looks like a true form, and it looks like the form of consciousness. The power behind this is also him. That is why Sri Krishna says that, know me as the knower of the field in all fields. According to Shankaracharya, in this verse the Supreme Soul tries to successfully prove the reason why, through ignorance, the individual degenerates, because he thinks that there is a difference between the individual and God. But in reality, this difference is not there. Shankaracharya says that this verse tries to establish the oneness between the individual and God. Because God says that he is the knower of the field in all fields, then this means that he is in each and every body. The suffix shu is used in the word kshetrashu, which is the 7th type of bhakti, devotion. The Supreme Soul is the knower of the field in all fields. It is already established that the Supreme Soul is in the field. If God is in each and every field, then how is God in each and every field? God is the nimittakaram, the creator, and the upadakaran, substance of the field. How is this? We should understand this terminology of Vedanta. The nimittakaran, the creator, and the upadankaran, the substance. The substance is without which something is not possible. The creator is the reason for which something is made. We will understand this terminology through a small example. If a potter makes a pot out of clay, then the clay is the substance and the potter is the creator and the instrument. A pot is made out of these 2 things. It needs clay and it needs a potter. The clay is the substance, the upadakaran, and the potter is the nimittakaran, the creator. How is God in each and everybody? Is God in each and everybody as the substance or the creator? We all would say straight away that God is the substance. But is God not the creator? God is also the creator, because if God were not there, then this body would not have come. God, of course, is the substance as well. God is also the creator. Vedantists say that Abhina Nimitta Upadankaran, God is the creator, the substance, and also both of them simultaneously. Just like you cannot have clothes without threads, and you cannot have jewellery without gold, in the same way you cannot have the world without God. Wise people say that God is the witness consciousness, because of which the material body that is false appears as if it is true. The witness consciousness is the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, and this is the Supreme Soul. And Sri Krishna says that knowing the Supreme Soul in truth is true knowledge. Such is his opinion. Shankaracharya says that Kshetrajna, knower of the field, is the Supreme Soul and not part of the material world. We must understand this a little. The Kshetra, field, is a part of the material world, but the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, resides in the material world and yet is not a part of the material world. He knows that he is not a part of the material world. If I were to explain it using a very simple and straightforward example, then if there is a company, and every year in the company for 4 to 10 days, the chartered accountant comes to do an audit of the company. Now the person who comes to do an audit is sitting on the table and chair of the company, and even if he has come out from outside, it looks as if he is a member of the staff of the company. But the person inside a company working with him knows that no matter if this auditor is sitting amongst them and knows everything, this person may not know something, but the auditor has everything and knows everything. And despite this, the auditor is not the company. He knows everything, he even works there and does everything there. But despite this, he is outside of the company. He does a completely different business. The auditor is sitting there and the company pays his firm, and then his firm pays his wages. The company does not directly pay the auditor. He is at the company, he knows everything about the company, but he is only the auditor. A Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, is sitting there in the material world, and the Kshetra, the field, and knows everything, yet he is different. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna to know this. God says that the Kshetrajna is in the material world, and yet it is different from the material world. Sri Krishna uses the word api, which seems like a very small word, but it is the life of this whole verse. It is the most important word in the verse, api. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna to also know him as the knower of the field in all fields. When he says that, know me also, then this means that God is also someone else. God says that, know me also as the knower of the fields in all fields, and this means that God is also somebody else. But who? Brahmavadis, seekers of realization of the formless God, has said it very nicely that God means that I am also the Kshetra and the body. The reason for this is that if we look at it from a subtle perspective, then there can be nothing separate from the Supreme Soul. The moment when we decide that the Supreme Soul is the Upadakaran, the substance, then everything is Sarva Brahma Mayan Jagat. Brahman is in each and everything in the world. There cannot possibly be anything apart from Brahman. Therefore, the Kshetra is the Supreme Soul, and the Kshetrajna is also the Supreme Soul. Just look at this in relation to the feeling of difference. I wrote earlier that it in this verse shows as if they are different, and then it successfully makes them one. Narshin Mehta has said, Akila Brahmand ma ek tu Shri Hari, Chuvya Rupa Ananta Bhase. O Hari, you are the only one in this whole universe. You take many different forms in this world. He then says further, Ved tuem badhe shruti smruti sakte, ganak kundal vishay bhed nuye, khat kariya pachinam rup chudva, ante tu hemnu hem hoy. The Vedas are furthered by the branches of the Shrutis, scriptures that are heard, and the Smritis, scriptures that are remembered. There are no differences between earrings and necklaces. They are just moulded differently and given different names. But in the end, they are all made out of the same gold. You can call things differently by name, such as that one thing is a bracelet, another thing is a chain, another thing is a ring, and another thing is an anklet. But in the end, all of this is gold. In the same way, all of these things are different kshetra, fields, and they have different names, but in the end, they are all Brahman. And that is why God uses the word api, meaning also, here, and says that, know me also as the knower of the field in all fields. God is the form of the Supreme Brahman. This has shown the oneness between the Kshetra, is the Supreme Soul, and the Kshetragna, knower of the field. In the Adhyatma Upanishad, it is said that Ekamevad Vittiyam Brahma Neha Nana Stikin Jana. Brahma is one in everything. In the Bhradhanyak Upanishad, it is said that Brahmaiva idam sarvam, Brahma is everywhere. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is said that Atmaiva idim sarvam, the soul is everywhere. Everything that there is, Brahma and the soul. Everything that there is Brahman and the soul. I remember a very nice Urdu poem since my childhood. Whenever I went to speak at school and college, speaking competitions, then I would say this, and everyone would say, "Wow, wow." Adam ko khuda mat kaho, Adam kudha nahi, lekin kudha ke nurs, Adam juda nahi. Do not call the body God. The body is not God. But God is not different from the splendor of the Supreme Soul. This was covered in the first verse. This body is not God, but the splendor that is there in the body is of God, and that is why the Supreme Soul resides in each and every cell and in everything we do. One who knows both the wisdom of the difference between the Kshetra and the Kshetragna, and in the end the wisdom of the non-duality, has true knowledge. From the perspective of ignorance, one feels only one thing, and that is that they are the body. One feels like this in the state of ignorance. But after coming out of ignorance, the first thing one learns is that it is different, and after complete awareness comes, then one learns that it is all one. The person becomes awake from ignorance, and after being completely awake, he reaches a state of wisdom. Sri Krishna says that this is true knowledge from his perspective. The majority of people have a feeling of selflessness with the body, and that is why God began by speaking on that topic. Now, having renounced the problem of the body, it is shown the solution to this problem, that is the truth. This is true wisdom. We have to understand the meaning of the word Gnan, wisdom. We have three words: Gnan, wisdom; Vidya, knowledge; and Kala, skill. The majority of people have Kala, qualification. What one gets from school, college or university is not Gnan but Kala. It is necessary because if it is there, then one can make arrangements to fill their stomachs. Kala is there to help a person earn chapatis. Therefore, that from which the body is nourished is a Kala. Each and every person has some skill or the other. Even the most ordinary of ordinary people who is sitting on the road and breaking rocks has a skill. Try this yourself. Do you know how to do it? This is a Kala from which one can fill their stomachs. A carpenter has his Kala, and a goldsmith has his Kala, and a doctor has his own Kala. What a doctor has is not Gnan, but Kala. It is an art. A lawyer has his own Kala. That from which the body is nourished is a Kala. I will even go further as to say that a person can even use wisdom as a Kala, if it is only being used in order to fill one's stomach. So-called religious people have turned religion into a monopolistic business thing, that only my way is right and there is no other true way apart from this. What these people have done is to turn religion into a business. It then becomes kala and not gnan, nor vidya, knowledge. Narsin Mehta says that Grant garba kari, vat nava kari khari, eche parpanchaso pet parva dana. They confuse the meanings of the scriptures and completely change the meanings. These are all methods of filling one's stomach. Gala is that from which the body is nourished. All of this is gala. That from which the intellect is nourished is vidya. Gala is used in order to gain wealth, whereas vidya is that from which the intellect is nourished. From vidya comes happiness and liberation. Sa vidya ya vimuktya. Knowledge is that which liberates. And that from which the soul is nourished is gnan. From this, one understands one's svarup, own form. Svarup can be split into sva, meaning self, and rup, meaning form. One realizes who they themselves are. This is because a person forgets who he is. One realizes their svarup, own form. This is gnan, wisdom. That from which the body is nourished is kala. A person can attain wealth. That from which the intellect is nourished is vidya, knowledge. And that from which the soul is nourished is gnan, wisdom. When one knows the kshatragna, then only can they get work from the kshetra, field. This is necessary from gnan, wisdom. Sri Krishna says that this is true wisdom. When one realizes that I am the kshatragna, knower of the field, then one can get work from the kshetra, the field. We have to turn back a little over here. In the Antakaran, in the being of creatures, there are 3 types of faults according to Vedanta. God has described the solutions to clean each of those faults in the Vedas. There are 3 types of faults. These are the words of Vedanta. The first fault is mar, the second is vikshep, and the third is avaran. We are going to discuss gnan, and so we should learn a little terminology. We have mar, vikshep, and avaran. God has shown us 3 passes for these 3 faults: karma, bhakti, and gnan. And all 3 of these paths come in the Gita. Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dhogda Gopala Nandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhakta Tugdham Gita Mrutam Mahat. If all of the Upanishads are cows, and the essence of those Upanishads come out as the Bhagavad Gita for the calf, Lord Krishna is the cow's herdsman that gets the milk out of these calves to give to Arjuna, and the nectar that we get is called the Bhagavad Gita. The meaning of the word mar is dirt. Mar is a fault. What is the fault in the form of mar? Those that we call the deformities are kam, krodh, lobh, moh, madha, matsara, ahamkar. Desire, anger, greed, attachment, ignorance, jealousy, and pride and egotism. All of these are called mar in Vedanta. They are called rubbish that is more or less in each and every person. There is not a single house in which there is no rubbish. It can be so that the rubbish does not appear to be there, but there are some rooms in those houses where all the rubbish is stored. If we cannot think of any place to put them, then we say that, throw them there and we will see. In the same way, there are many things in your and my lives that are mar, such as kam, krodh, lobh, moh, madha, matsara, ahamkar. Desire, anger, greed, attachment, ignorance, jealousy, and pride and egotism. It may also be that they cannot be seen. We all look very good in front of society, but all of the feelings of desire, anger, greed, attachments, ignorance, jealousy, and pride and egotism will stay there. It is our duty as worshippers that we would use this rubbish as much as possible in its true meaning. If you take something from one room and put it in another room, then it will not have much meaning. This happens in the majority of our lives, that it goes from the conscious to the subconscious or the unconscious. This rubbish stays the same as it was. You should take it and throw it out. But how can that be done? For this, God has shown us the solution of Nishkam Karma Yoga, the yoga of actions without desire. This has come in the Gita. If you do Nishkam Karma Yoga, the yoga of actions without desire, then Kam, desire, will not stay, and this is the first thing. This is because it is Nishkam, without desire, and desires have gone. Only then can Karma Yoga, the yoga of actions, begin. Therefore, Kam must go first. When Kam, desire, goes, then Krodh, anger, goes. This is because Krodh is nothing but the brother of Kam, desire. When desire comes, then anger will come. Whoever causes an obstacle in our path of desire, we cannot go without having anger towards them. Therefore, the more desirous a person is, then the more angry he would be. If I say it from another meaning, then a person who is very angry, then one may not know and the world may not realize, but those close to him will know that this person must be as much desirous. And the more peaceful that person is, and the more free from anger he is, then the more peaceful that he will be from the inside. When in the form of desire is being mixed in the cauldron, inside the smoke that comes outside is anger. Desire and anger always goes hand in hand. For Kam, desire, God has shown the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga, the yoga of actions without desire. If desire goes away, then anger will go away, and greed also goes away, because a person no longer wishes for the fruits of actions. Why does one get greedy? When they have a wish for the fruit, and when they have the wish to gather things together. But if a person has no wish for the fruits, and if a person does not want anything, then how can greed come? Greed goes away, delusion goes away, and the ego also does not remain. This is because the ego depends on my, and my. The ego depends on all of these. If a person has not held on to anything and has not kept any feeling of mineness, then his ego will go. And when his ego goes, then how can a feeling of envy remain? This is because there is no reason to compare with others. Therefore, in order to take out of the 6 types of mar, dirt, God has shown us Nishkam Karma Yoga, the yoga of actions without desire, from the 1st to the 6th chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. The second fault is the fault of vikshep. This has 2 main things in it: rag, attraction, and dvesh, repulsion. If I were to explain vikshep in simple and straightforward language, away from this terminology, then it means disturbance and fickleness. This is vikshep. I did not have the chance to watch television anymore, but I remember watching it when I was very young, when a television program or a song is coming on television, and suddenly it gets disturbed by advertisements. This is called vikshep. Whenever something good is coming and something comes in the middle, then this is what the mind does. The mind can never go in one line, and this vikshep, fickleness, is a characteristic of the mind. Why does this happen? It happens because of 2 reasons. The first is attraction, and the second is repulsion. Vikshep, fickleness, happens because of these. Let us say that there is a red carpet and I am walking on it in a straight line. On one side, a person who we like is sitting there. I immediately become drawn towards him. Have I not been drawn away from the straight line? This is called becoming vikshep. There is a rag there and I want to meet him. I wish to hug him, to talk with him. This is attraction and one gets pulled. Or there is repulsion on the other side, where there is someone sitting there from who I get repulsion. One thinks that if this person doesn't see, then it would be good. I should walk some distance away from him. At the time of doing this, one is moved from the straight line, and that this is why vikshep has happened. Rag and dvesh are both things that make the mind fickle. How can we make the faults in the form of vikshep go far away? From the 7th chapter to the 12th chapter of the Gita, God showed us Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Bhakti Yoga is the method of making one's thoughts concentrated. If one's mind has become fixed on God, then how can it be shaken by rag and dvesh? And the third fault is the fault of avaran, the veil. Just like I earlier mentioned the deformities and rag, attraction, and dvesh, repulsion, the fault of avaran, the veil, is the self-sense and the ego. Because of the veil of self-sense, egoism, that has come into each of our souls, one does not get a vision of the truth, and one is not able to reach until wisdom. The self-sense and the ego is the fault of avaran. The solution to make the fault go away is wisdom of the soul and Jnana Yoga, the yoga of wisdom, that God shows us from the 13th to the 18th chapters of the Gita. And that is why it is said that Rute Jnanatma Muktihi, liberation is not possible without wisdom. One should get wisdom of the soul. I have done a whole discourse on what Narsin Mehta said that Jalagi Atma Tvatva Chinyo Nahi, Tyalagi Sadhana Sarva Chuti, Manukaha De Taro Em Ere Gayo, Chem Mahavatani Vrishti Ruti. Until one has not touched the truth of the soul, all one's efforts are in vain. Your human body would go just like that, just like the unseasonal rains. When the unseasonal rains come, they do not benefit anyone, and they lead into a loss. Think about what our lives are. When the seasonal rain comes, then it makes people happy. It makes farmers happy and crops grow. But when unseasonal rain comes, then people suffer. Our whole life is like rain, and we will pour down. We have come. Now we have to just think whether we are seasonal rain or unseasonal rain. When we have poured down in a human body, then we have poured down like the unseasonal rains. We have to think about the truth of the soul. The kshetra, field, is the body, and the kshetragna, knower of the field, is the individual soul. And the knower of the field in all fields is the Supreme Soul. If we wish to understand it using a very simple example, then one can say that it is night time on the full moon night. The full moon is in the sky, and in the terrace there are 10 pitchers filled with water. And in each and every pitcher we can see the reflection of the moon. If one wishes to know the difference between the kshetra, the field, kshetragna, the knower of the field, and the Supreme Soul, then the 10 pitchers that are there filled with water are Prakriti, nature. These are the body, and these are the kshetra. The different reflections of the moon that can be seen in the pitchers are the individual souls. And the moon that is in the sky is the Supreme Soul. The Supreme Truth is residing in each and every one of us. How nice is this? In each and every life, God manifests in one place or the other. There is a good quality in each and every person. There cannot possibly be even one person in the world who is 100% a bad person. If we feel that this person is 100% bad, then we should sit quietly and think, and we will see some good quality in this person. The substance of God is in them. The fact that they are living proves that God is in them. And if God is in them, then something good must be in them. Perhaps because of their bad deeds, the badness in them may have increased. This is possible. If someone is sitting in a state of 100% Brahman, then even this is not that, because there cannot be anything apart from God in this world. It is said in the Isha Upanishad that Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Whatever there is in the whole world is pervaded by the Supreme Soul. But if I were to say it in the language of the material world, then even then you will see something or the other that is good in each and every person. The very fact that the person is living means that the Supreme Soul is inside of that person. And because the Supreme Soul is inside him, means that there must be something good inside that person. These reflections of the moon are the individual souls, and the moon in the sky is the Supreme Soul. These are the reflections of the Supreme Soul. Let us say that 1 out of the 10 pitchers break, and the water leaves the pitcher. What then would happen to the reflection? Where will the reflection inside the pitcher go? Does it go with the water? No. If we look at it logically, then the reflection went back into the moon. This is because the reflection of the rays of the moon could be seen in the pitcher because of the water. It was because the water was there that the reflection could be seen. When the water went away, then the reflection went back to the moon. While this picture in the form of the body is there, the reflection in the form of the Supreme Soul is shining in each and every one of us. The moon is in each and every one of us. In some people, there is the waning crescent moon. In some people, there is the waxing crescent moon. In some people, there is the waning gibbous moon. In some people, there is the waxing gibbous moon. And in some people, you can see the full moon. In the full moon, you can see the radiance and the splendor. But this is the radiance and splendor of the Supreme Soul that is shining on us. And where does this go when the pitcher breaks? Once again, it becomes amalgamated with the Supreme Soul. That is why Sri Krishna says to know him as the knower of the field in all fields. A thing always goes back to where it came from. Sri Krishna says in this verse that he regards as true knowledge the knowledge of the field and its knower. Sri Krishna says that in his opinion, this is knowledge and there can be no other knowledge apart from this. In this chapter, Sri Krishna is very clear about Gnan, wisdom. Sri Krishna is going to say later in this chapter that Agnayam Vedato Nyaha, everything else apart from this is ignorance. This is the Gnan, wisdom. Gnan can be of 2 types. The first type is Padarth Gnan, material wisdom, and the second type is Atma Gnan, wisdom of the soul. Padarth Gnan, material wisdom, is liked by the intellect because it is wisdom about material things. One can understand them with the intellect. For example, there is a video camera. If there is a video camera, then this is the material thing. A cameraman will have wisdom of which buttons to press on the camera and what to do with it. Because he has an intellect, he knows how to use this camera. And the second wisdom is wisdom of the soul, which is fine with the intellect to a certain level, but after a while it is not a matter of the intellect, it is a matter of experience. It is to be experienced. You can walk a few steps on the path of the soul with the intellect, but if you just sit there saying intellect, 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 then it would not work. It has to be experienced. You have to put it into practice and then see. You have to apply it in your life, and then you should listen to its tinklings. It is to be experienced. Human beings are constantly making 2 mistakes in their lives, which are the reasons for which they remain deprived of Atmagnan, wisdom of the soul. They are constantly making these 2 mistakes. Why are we not able to attain Atmagnan, which we like at the root? It is because of these 2 mistakes. The first is that the human being considered the body can be different from the material world, and he believes himself to be one with the body. One should remember this. I will say it by way of my own example. I have a body. What do I consider this body of mine to be? I consider that my 5.5-foot body is different from this whole fair of the material world, where all of you are sitting. I think that I am different from all of this. I consider my body can be different from the material world. And because I say that I am the body, I have created a oneness between me and my body. This is the first mistake, and that everybody makes. Secondly, the moment that a person considers himself to be one with the body, this means that one forgets the natural oneness of the Supreme Soul with the Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. And therefore, what happens as a consequence is that I believe that I am different from the Supreme Soul. One considers himself to be different from the Supreme Soul. Two things get ruined for this person. He does not understand the person to whom he belongs to, and he sits there understanding the person he does not belong to. He does not go into the house that is his, but he considers to be his the house that he is not actually his. People say in the villages of Gujarat in India that Mane Jorin Masin Tava Dore, one who leaves their mother and runs after their aunt. A mother will give true guidance to a person. An aunt has feelings, and I am not denying this, but a mother is a mother and an aunt is an aunt. Therefore, it feels a bit good. If the mother has slapped the child, and the aunt says nice things to the child, such as, "Child, do not cry, I will give you a chocolate," when the aunt gives the child a chocolate, then how good does the aunt look? At that time, one likes their aunt very much. But can you compare a mother to anyone? Therefore, God may be strict and God may be clear, but I am of God and God is my true form. These are the two mistakes. We are not the material world and we are not the kshetra, the field, yet we consider ourselves to be these, and we remain far away from that which we are. Therefore, when God uses the word vidhi, to know, in this verse, the Lord strikes at both these mistakes. The Lord says that the oneness we have with the material world is wrong because we are different from the material world. The Lord says that rather than having oneness with this, consider yourself to have oneness with me. This is what Sri Krishna is saying. The Supreme Soul is saying here that know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bhārata, Arjuna. The knowledge of the field and its knower do I regard as true knowledge. I wrote above that Gnan, wisdom, should be born of experience. You can believe words with the intellect, and whenever I speak your discourses, I see the look on many people's faces that this is correct. Have they got the experience of this? If they wish to have the experience, then I will give them an experiment. There is a Christian saint by the name of Loyola who has shown us this experiment. If you have a person in your family or amongst friends who you like very much, with whom you are very intimate, and you are very close to that person, and it can be anyone, such as a father, wife, brother, sister, or your own child, and there are no limits of age, because if a person is aged 5 to 7 and has understanding, then this is fine. Or even a friend, anyone you consider to be intimate, to be close to you, and with whom you have a closeness in the heart, then choose this person. I know we need the cooperation of this person. Both of you should decide that you wish to carry out this experiment to understand the one knower of the field in all fields. The experiment is such that during the time of early morning or in the evening, whenever you are at peace, if possible, have a bath or wash your hands and feet. What I mean to say is that you should forget the world. It is very necessary that you should forget the world. Only then you will be able to recognize the knower of the field in all fields. For half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour, for as long as you are able to sit at peace, you can start with half an hour at the beginning, sit in a room where it is only both of you there carrying out this experiment. You should close the room so that nobody else is able to disturb you. What you have to do in the experiment is that for half an hour, the two people experimenting should look into each other's eyes, and that is it. They should both keep looking into each other's eyes. Unless this is necessary, they should not even blink. Such should be their concentration. They should only blink when they feel that they absolutely have to do so, but otherwise they should try not to blink. They should keep looking into each other's eyes. After 2 days, 4 days, or even 7 days, they will begin to experience that their eyes are not a piece of glass that has a diameter or half a centimetre. You will feel as if these eyes are a grand door, and in that great door of the eyes, you will be able to enter into the person who is close to you. You will literally feel as if you were diving into that person, and the other person will feel in the exact the same way. Even he is entering into me through the doors of my eyes. Slowly and slowly, you should take this experiment to an hour, and there is not even a need to wait for so long. Within 1 month to 1.5 months, you will be able to experience, and you may have a question that, am I not the person residing within him? And the other person will feel that, is he not residing within me? Your thoughts will begin to become one. The thoughts that come into the mind will also come into that person's mind, will come into your mind at the same time. And you will reach one state where the other person will not even ask a question, and you will be able to understand all the thoughts in that mind. You will feel a sense of oneness with them. This is an experiment that is worth carrying out. In relation to this experiment, I was once asked the question that, Dear Pujya Bhupendrabhai, I wish to ask a question in relation to this experiment you taught us during your Gita course, to experience oneness with a person who you are intimate and close with. Can we not carry out this experiment with our dear Sagun Sakar form of God with qualities? This is because the arrangements in our consciousness are also in the idol. Therefore, I want to inquire if this experiment of joining the Supreme Flame with our flames would succeed. The Lord is able to give a vast ocean of things, but still accepts our surrender to Him with a small amount of our love. With complete trust that the form of God we have fixed in our imagination, we reach our hearts. I wish to ask you, as a person on the path of spirituality, what would help me on this experiment? With gratitude to you, a devotee on the path of spirituality. It feels like a very good thing that rather than carrying out this experiment with another person, one can carry out this experiment with themselves. It is not wrong, but the topic that I was writing about in the last few paragraphs, the person may have missed or forgotten something, and that is why this question must have arisen. Sri Krishna says that he is the knower of the field in all fields. The Supreme Soul is saying that here that, know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bhārata, Arjuna. Because Sri Krishna has said all fields, that means that one can experience the Supreme Truth within themselves, but are they experiencing the Supreme Truth within others? I have seen God inside me, but do I see God inside others? And this experiment is so that we can see God in others. If someone has experienced God within themselves, then it is worth congratulating them, but at the same time, it is possible to experience God within others. Of course, in an ideal state, a person who has experienced God within them will be able to have a vision of God in each and every place. It cannot go without them seeing this. But we have to see God in all fields. We have to see God in other people. And if I were to go further, then I will say that there is no difference between the God that resides within others and the God that resides within us. This one substance of the Kshetrajna, knower of the field, resides in each and every person. I also make the request that a person on the path of spirituality, a devotee or an inquirer, are all normal things. A person asking questions must have the courage that this is my question. Whenever something like this is asked, then I say in a discourse in front of thousands of people sitting there that this is a question out of fear. Why should someone hide their identity? Have they committed a theft? But they hide their identities. When I was at college, then I noticed this. Those people who are madly in love, in fact not love, but attraction with a girl, would write something strange in a letter, and then would finish with, your lover, K, and send it to the recipient. If the person has courage, then they should write their whole name, and they should say that I love you. But if their name was Kishore, then instead of Kishore they would write K, and then put heart shapes for the rest of the letters in the name so that the girl can tell how many letters there are in the name. Why do people do all of this? One should be clear. That is why I said before, and I say it again, that if someone has to ask a question, then they should write their name and ask the question. Then one will realize, it does not make a difference to me in knowing the name, but I know how clear the person asking the question is about the topic. If 10 to 15 pots of water have been placed in a river, then the pot that considers itself to be just a pot and a form of the clay, then it will consider that it is different, and the others remaining 14 pots are different, and it is different. But if this pot forgets that I am not the picture of the clay, nor am I a form of this clay, in reality the pot is there because the water is there. The reason for the pot being there is not because the clay is there, but the reason why the pot is there is because the water is there. What is the quality of the pot? It is to store water. If there is no water inside the pot, then the pot will be useless. Therefore, the meaning of existence of the pot is in the water. When the pot first understands that I am not this form, I am the water inside it, then at that moment will the 14 other pots seem different to it? No, because it will understand that the water of the river that is in me is also in the other pot. And all of these pots are in the river. They are not outside of the river. If a pot breaks, then the water is one. When we carry out this experiment of Saint Loyola, then we will experience this pot breaking. It is as if the limits of the body have melted outside and the water has become one. Nowadays, when modern people speak English, then they use a phrase a lot of the time that we gel with each other. I like this phrase very much. We gel with each other. This is because when something is solid, then it cannot gel. To gel with each other, you have to be in liquid form, and you have to be in a fluid form. Only then can you gel with each other. You should understand the difference between the words gel, matter, and gel. This brings a closeness towards another person. And when we understand this one thing with one person, then slowly and slowly we get the experience that in each and every pot there is the same supreme truth. That is why Sri Krishna says that, know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bhārata, Arjuna. Kabir says that, Bharatan sab nyare bhai, pani sab mein ek. There are so many different pots, but the water in them is one. Knowing that there is only one is Gnan, wisdom. A person can look at another human being from two perspectives. The first is from a higher perspective, and the second is from a lower perspective. Science has, on the majority of occasions, shown how to look at a human being from a lower perspective and from an ordinary perspective. Contradictions are going to remain in human beings, and what are these considerations? From one perspective, if we look at it from a higher perspective, then a human being is an existence of the supreme freedom. And if we look at it from an ordinary perspective, then a human being is a wretched individual fallen into bondage. Both of these are definitions of a human being. If a human being who has all of these qualities of God attains his downfall, considers the impulses of nature, that are kam, krodh, lobh, bhai, chinta, to be his own and becomes degraded, this results in the downfall of the human being. Sri Krishna is going to say in the 15th chapter of the Gita that Mamai vansho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. A fragment or fraction of my own self becomes a living soul, eternal in the world of life. Whoever there is in the world of life is an internal part of the Supreme Soul, and because he is a part of the Supreme Soul, he has all the qualities of being part of the Supreme Soul. If there is a gigantic ocean and you go and bring a spoonful of water from the ocean, then all the chemicals and substances you can find in the ocean will also be found in this one spoonful of water. A whole always has the qualities of its part, and a part of a whole always has the qualities of the whole. If we are parts of the whole, of the Supreme Soul, then all the qualities of the whole are in us. But what a human being does is that he becomes swayed in the impulses of prakriti, nature, such as kam, lust, krodh, anger, lobh, greed, bhai, fear, and chinta, worry, and becomes degraded by them. If we think according to the perspectives of sciences such as biology, psychology, and sociology, then a human being is a Homo sapien. According to these, a human being is a biochemical reaction. and that human beings get swayed by the events that are going on around him. He becomes a slave to those events. What biology says is that a person came from monkeys. If you ask them how a person came from monkeys, then they will say that monkeys had a tail, but that they did not use the tail, and therefore the tail kept reducing, and we became from this. From 4 feet, we developed 2 feet and 2 hands, because we began using our hands even more. How did all of this happen? Biology says that all of this happened because of the events that are going on around us. Psychology says the same thing. Why does the person get angry? They say that it is because so much things are going on in the house in which this poor person lives. His wife does not listen to him, there is a lot of tension, and so he tends to get angry. This is what psychology says. Sociology says that this very same thing when describing why a person steals. Go and ask Karl Marx and Engels of communism why a person steals. They will say that, what else could this person do? The person next to him is eating 5 meals a day, and this person is starving, so what else could happen? That is why he steals. He became the slave of his circumstances happening around him. This is what the sciences say. But if we look at it from the perspective of spirituality, then it feels as if the human being is an all-powerful existence. A human being is not a slave to his circumstances. This is what religion says. If I were to say it in the words of political theory, then our scriptures say that Raja Kalyasa Karan, a king paints society. A king makes society. A leader paints society. A leader does not do what society tells him. If he does, then how could he be a leader? Today's leaders are such that they run behind society. This is because they can only become leaders if society gives them their votes. Otherwise, how can they become leaders? Therefore, they have to keep society happy. They will only do as society says. These are not leaders. A king paints society. A king should be so effective and the politician should be so effective that society begins to become like them. Society should imitate that politician. Human beings have this power. If we look at it from an ordinary perspective, then human beings look like the thinker, like Leibniz monad. Leibniz has given the word monad and has said that every individual is a monad. What is a monad? It is one who has one door, if any, no windows, nor anything else. A person who has 4 walls can be called monad. Leibniz says that each and every human being is like this. He is closed in each and every side and is unable to express himself. And this is the most unusual thing about today's times. All the problems that have been created in today's times are all because of this. A person wishes to say a lot, but he does not get the place in which to say it. Then it does not matter if he is a child, a youth, or an elderly person. Child wishes to say a lot, but who could the child speak to? A youth wishes to say a lot, but who can the youth speak to? They are all monads. The problems of elderly people are great. Children and youth find a route out of somewhere, but elderly people do not find anyone. If what children and youth say is not being heard in the house, then they will go outside and say it. The elders are such that they have no power to go outside. Who can they say it to? They are monads. When we think about it spiritually, then human beings are eternally powerful, and this eternal nature is residing within them. What Sri Krishna is saying here is about what human beings should do, and is from the perspective of ultimate wisdom. It is about an internal human being without any limits. This kshetra field is not ours, and therefore we cannot use it in the same way that we want. We have rented this field from the Supreme Soul, and if we are using any place on rent, then it is very natural that we should use it in the way that our boss likes it. For example, let us say that we have given someone a live and let license for our flat. The person living in the flat does not even pay rent after 3 months. The rent should be paid regularly on the first day of each month, but this does not come. After 2 or 4 months, the rent has gone up, and we get the thought that we should go and have a look in that area to see what is going on. When we go there to our own house that we have given in rent to somebody else, then we ring the doorbell and we enter inside and we think that, have they put our house into such a state? There is rubbish everywhere, spider webs have been created everywhere, there have been photographs and paintings stuck on the walls, nails have been put there, and this person does not even look after the house at all. We feel that he has treated our house in this way. Fine, we have given him an 11-month contract and there is no getting out of this. But we resolve in our minds that at that moment, that when the 11 months are finished, we will not let them live here anymore. Not only that, but if they come, then we will not let them stand there. We decide this at that moment. But let us say that this person keeps very good relations with us. We get their rent amount on the 1st of every month, and he often says to us without asking that it is literally your house and so you should come here so that we can sit together and drink tea. He gives us this invitation and we are passing there, so we say, let us go. He has been saying this to us for a long time. It is our house, so we should go and see it. When we enter inside the house, then we see that it has been beautifully kept by them. It is nicely arranged, smells nice and is clean. They also welcome us in a beautiful way. We resolve at that time that we have given them this house for 11 months, but if this person asks us to renew his live-in license contract, then we will say, of course, no problem. At least our house is being looked after. He remembers us and keeps good relations with us. You would not even think before renewing such a person's license and immediately give them the place again, whereas you would never help the first person stand up at all. Just think about this time thing in relation to us. This body is the place that the Supreme Soul has given to us on rent. How do we keep it? We have taken it with a live-in license for 100 years. These leases happen for 99 years. People do them with a lot of intelligence. A person's lifetime is 100 years. He has come here with a 100-year lease. Now will that lease be renewed or not? The Supreme Soul will ask this. And it is fine about us that in 11 months we can make mistakes when the owner does not come. But God never leaves and comes back. He has given this body for rent, and the fun thing is that you will see that God himself has come and is always sitting in the body. Sarvasya jaham hridisani vishtaha. And I am lodged in the hearts of all. From me are memory and knowledge as well as their loss. The Supreme Soul is always watching what we are doing with our bodies. The Supreme Soul knows what use we are making of this property. God knows. Therefore, God makes a resolve that he has given us a human body at this time, and so he will see what we will do in this birth. He has given us this body, and God never repeats his mistakes. Firstly, God does not make mistakes, and second, if he feels like a mistake has been made, then he will not repeat it, and this is certain. Therefore, we should live our life in such a way that the Supreme Soul has the wish over and over again to give us a human birth. Many people ask the question that if you have had a human birth once, then are we fine after that and have no problem? There is certainly a problem. This is not written anywhere in the scriptures. Many people have invented this meaning themselves, saying that once you get a human body, then you cannot go into an animal body. You cannot go into an animal body, and you can go into an animal body, and you can certainly go there. So one's karmas, so the body they will get. Shri Krishna has already said in the Gita that Shine Punya Martyolakam Vishanti. If one has performed satkarma, good deeds, then as a consequence for those satkarma, they attain the body of a dev, God. And when they use up all their punya, the opposite of sins, in the body of a dev, then they are thrown back into the world of life and death, and become born as human beings. If one can go from the body of a dev, God, to a body of a human being, then can one go down a level or not? The whole level has changed. Therefore, if one has not performed satkarma as a human being and has not collected any punya, then they will fall further down or not. If they fall further down from the level of a human being, then they will become animals. This is very logical and very clear. Therefore, one can fall down a level. Then how should we grow this kshetra, this field? If we are not to put up any bad photos, then we should put up photos that God likes. What photos does God like? God will show these 20 qualities from the 7th to the 12th verses, but let us first take the verses before them. End of verse.